Good morning, folks. It's morning while we're doing this.
It's morning where we
are.
are.
It's evening when you're seeing it. Maybe.
We're breaking
anyway,
time in.
I decided to do the introduction today. I want to tell you what we hope to have time to get to today, some of the subjects. I'll tell you the ones that I'd like to get to. Gino will then tell you which ones that he wants to get to. And, of course, this thing last night, I did this show prep, but then the election took place and the Democrat won in Alabama. So that's going to be something we talk about. Then there are 3 Department of Justice stories that I want to bring up. And one, the DOJ is investigating Harvard University for racial discrimination in admissions.
Harvard or Howard?
Harvard,
okay.
Yes, in Cambridge, Mass. And also the Department of Justice is investigating Planned Parenthood for selling baby parts. Those are 2 developments from last week, this week and last week. And another Department of Justice attorney was caught speaking to the FBI agent Strzok, who is has been fired by Mueller last August, and also for talking to Fusion GPS, 2 people at Fusion GPS, and then we find out that his wife was working for Fusion GPS. I want to talk about the implications of that story. In the United Kingdom, a middle school teacher was suspended for not calling a girl who says she's a boy, she. And jihadi bomb doesn't go off properly in a New York City subway and injures only the jihadi. We'll talk about that. So those are the things that I hope to get to, not only those things, but probably that's all we'll have time for. But go ahead, Gino. What do you have in mind?
This sounds like we're going to be Breitbart North here today, but I can understand all of those things. They're very serious.
What, the things I just said?
Racism at Harvard. The Planned Parenthood, I understand that why they're against that. Strzok, I can understand that. He sent an email to someone else agreeing that he hated Trump. Serious problem. And then Fusion GPS, I think, isn't that the company that was involved in the
dossier?
The dossier. I did. I watched a very interesting show on the dossier the other night, and it appears.
Before we get into it, is there any other issues that you personally wanted to bring up?
No, I will answer to those issues.
Well, then,
I know most.
All right, so those are the things that I hope to find time to bring up. But we should go to the
we're going to now top management every show.
Excuse me. We'll also have another 2 more segments, and one of them is winners and losers.
Absolutely.
Over the last 2 weeks. And then good news and bad news.
Good news and bad news. Okay, there is some.
I think there's some of both, yeah.
Christ is on his way again. That's the good news.
That's not interesting to have a lefty say the word Christ.
Lefty Catholic, born and raised Catholic. Had it beaten into me at an early age.
Me too.
And there's the number one question, first question of the day, very, very important from top management, which is officially who we listen to.
All wise, all knowing.
All wise, all knowing. The great Poobah, Bill. Is Roy Moore's loss in the Alabama Senate race say more? Does it say more about Roy Moore as a candidate or about President Trump's low approval rating?
Well, it says it's both, but which one more? Probably more.
More, less Trump?
I mean, the guy, he hasn't got both oars in the water. And that became clear as the campaign wore on. I mean, I'd heard about the guy, a Supreme Court justice that, we've got the federal judge said, remove the 10 Commandments from your courtroom there in Alabama while he's a judge, and he said no. And then another one was, federal judge said, you must marry or allow your clerks to marry a man, a woman, a woman. And he said, no, we're not going to do that either. And so that's all I knew about the guy. And I'm thinking, well, all right, he's going to have to deal with it. But I never really saw him personally, how he talked, how he came across. And the guy's not all there.
No.
He's not. So I think, and that became clear. He became an embarrassment, I think, even though I liked him on the issues, the things that he said, except for this amendment thing. That was
scary.
That really set me off. But then I knew, I said, this guy's nuts.
Every time I saw this guy, Moore, and he was on everywhere.
Why don't you repeat what he said about the amendments?
Oh, what he said that the amendments should have obeyed. I didn't hear the exact terminology, but basically what he said it was that America wasn't great after the Civil War. Basically, after the 10th Amendment,
Right.
They should have got, and basically that would have included women's right to vote. He didn't like black slavery,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. All the things, Civil Rights Acts, any of that stuff.
After the Bill of Rights, he said none of
That's
the
it,
other
none of it.
amendments
Yeah,
really.
America
he
was
said,
never great after that. Well, you know what? And then his wife didn't help. And I mean, she's talking yesterday on TV, and it's the day of the election, and she's talking either the day before, saying that, oh, we have many, many black friends, and we also have a Jewish attorney. And I thought, one of our attorneys is Jewish, so I don't like to misrepresent what she said, but it looks so obnoxious. And there were many other things he said. I mean, it just that he would arrest, that the law should be, homosexuals should be arrested for, could not, have any legal status.
he said homosexuals could
Yeah,
have
he
legal
did. Yeah,
status?
he didn't.
I didn't hear that one.
He didn't want them to have the right to marry and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
but,
well, that's different.
But I mean, that's his opinion. But he just seemed like such an evil man. But I think Roy Moore had a problem with all that stuff. But he still could have won that election. I think Trump stepped in it big time. He was robocalling the day of the election. He went to Pensacola, which is 30 miles from Mobile, and had a big rally the night, 2 nights before the election.
Yeah.
And he had originally supported Moore's opponent in the
Right.
primary,
Right.
and then he stuck his foot in it again by coming out, especially in this time, because Moore was being accused of being a pedophile, basically. I think it's fair to say that they were saying, hey, he was trying to date 14-year-old girls. One girl's come on and say he molested me, all this kind of stuff. Well, what does Trump basically do? Well, they really don't have any proof, and let Alabama decide, and all this kind of stuff, and really making it sound like, well, no big deal, really, because it's all in the past. Let's forget it. Well, no, but Trump, you've got all this other stuff hanging over you. 13 women that want to sue you that you've already said you'll sue for what they said about your business with women back in the day. I just think that Trump really shot himself in the foot, and I think this is gonna, because you can
By getting behind Moore at the end.
because just imagine what the Democrats are gonna do to him in the 18. I mean, they're gonna have him supporting this pedophile, accused pedophile, and it's gonna be like, holy mackerel, because the people in Alabama that really came out to vote against Moore were basically voting against Trump, I think, because a lot of the college people, the Republicans in Birmingham and places that came out and voted en masse against Trump's candidate.
I'm not sure that's. We'll see what it's too early to really analyze who voted and why, but one thing I saw that was telling was that Democrats turned out 92% of the voters that they turned out in the last off-year election, non-presidential election.
They turned out 92%
92%
of those numbers.
of the number of people that voted for that, whereas Republicans turned out fewer than 50%.
50%,
yeah, less than 50%.
Yeah. Well, that hurts.
So that's turnout. That tells me that a lot of Republicans stayed home.
But why?
They didn't, because
Why?
they couldn't vote for Moore.
Yeah.
Because they thought this guy is cuckoo.
But yet they
also,
had supported Trump.
When I heard, the first thing I heard, well, Bannon, I remember Bannon was supporting him more over Luther Strange.
Yes.
And then Moore won the primary.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, okay, well, there's really not a whole lot of difference between the two candidates in their platforms. And so I'm thinking, it's not that big a deal, except that this guy was a junkyard dog, Moore. I mean, he was like Trump in that he would just be in your face. This is what I think. And he was kind of proud of it. And the way he lifted up that gun one time and he kind of turned to the side.
Oh, he took his gun out. Yeah, and I'm here. I mean,
that's
32.
That's unnecessary. You can say I have a concealed weapons permit, but you don't pull it out. And the way he just that was the first thing. But then the woman came out and said, well, this guy, he fondled he took my clothes off except for my underwear, and then he was feeling me. So the Washington
14.
Post turned that out. Now, I don't trust the Washington Post.
No.
And I just don't. I'm thinking, this is a setup. So at first, that was my read on it. But then, when all those other women came out, I'm thinking,
Oh, yeah. It was an army.
Maybe there is something to this.
An army,
here.
yeah. And even the Senator
then
Shelby.
he became a liability.
Shelby, who has a county probably named after his family because there's a Shelby County in Alabama, formerly a Democratic senator elected in 1992. When that big tidal wave came in 94, he switched to the Republican Party. Very conservative. Came out day before.
He said, I can't vote for the guy.
I can't vote for him.
Yeah.
I can't vote for him.
I'm going to vote for the write-in.
He's a conservative. Now, the problem is, and this goes back to what you said this morning at breakfast, you said that the Senate Majority Leader, what's his name? I never remember his name.
McConnell.
There was a guy, a representative from Alabama, who's in the House at present. I can't remember his name, but McConnell basically shot him down. He would have won overwhelmingly, and he's a very conservative, right-wing Republican.
But how could he have run?
They shut him down. He didn't get any financial support from McConnell.
You mean he was running in the primary?
He wanted to run.
But he didn't.
No, he didn't. They shot him down. They didn't want him. They wanted Strange at the time and then Moore later. But the point is, this guy would have won, and he was perfect for them.
By the time all
his name.
The women number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many,
It's all over.
came out with more, it was too late for them to put another name on the ballot besides Moore.
No, absolutely. That's
They
true.
could
It
have
was
done
too
write-ins,
late.
but
They
it was
probably
too
would have
late to
elected
get them
Jones.
on the
It would have
ballot
elected-
because of means,
Yeah.
the statutes in Alabama.
It would have
That was a
elected
problem.
Jones. Yeah.
That was a real problem.
But no, this is before that. This is before the Strange.
Because I think more pressure would have been put on Moore to withdraw.
he was never going to. With that guy, he never would.
It was all about Moore.
Thank
Moore is
God
just-
he's not going to be in the Senate because you know
Well,
what?
maybe they really, the Democrats would have been better off to have him in the Senate and say, look at this idiot. He's the Republican.
You got the pictures anyway.
They won't now.
You got the pictures anyway. You got who Trump supported. The next election in November, the next congressional election, is going to be about Trump and about Bannon.
Guess what? Jones is not going to get elected.
Oh, he's not running now. He's got 2 more. He runs in
think
2020. He runs in
2020?
2020. Yes.
Oh, all right.
So no
he'll be in
problem.
for 3 years.
He'll be in for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is going to be very interesting because if they don't resolve this tax cut issue before January,
You mean Republicans?
right, then it will be, the Senate will be 51-49. And all you need is one McCain or one Susan Collins, 2 people to split, and the thing just falls apart. So this is a huge defeat for
Politically.
for Trump
For Trump's
specifically.
platform.
Yeah, because he's so over the. We
It
can
is.
talk all day
It is,
about
yeah.
Trump. But what do you got for? Okay, we got.
I got DOJ. A lot of things going on in the Department of Justice, and there should be more, but at least this is going on. Sessions, Attorney General Sessions, has decided to take the Civil Rights Division, and he decided this a few months ago. You're going to take the personnel and the funding for the Civil Rights Division, and he's going to put it toward much of it toward looking at so-called affirmative action in Ivy League colleges or any colleges who get federal funds, which is almost all of them. There are some who don't.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. And so he started with the flagship one of the Ivy League, Harvard, and he's looking into he's working off some data that was submitted in a lawsuit by a coalition of Asian American students who have filed a civil suit against Dartmouth, Brown, and
Penn or somewhere,
and
Penn.
Yale.
Yale.
Okay, as well as others, but name those 3. And I read the whole complaint, and they say the same thing, that we are being discriminated against. But with Harvard, they have quantitative data. Now, you know how that if you took college boards they've changed them since, but they used
Yeah.
to be based on 800 in math and 800 in English.
Yeah.
And that for a total of 1,600 points, if you answered every question correctly,
Yeah, you get
total
1,600.
1,600 is a perfect score. Very few get that.
Mm.
So then they have a cutoff point usually. Any college
Yeah,
will.
like
If you have to
1250 or
score
something,
above 1,000, above 1,100, above 1,200.
Yeah.
Well, basically, it was an Asian American. If your name is Wang or Chu or something on your application, and you got 1,400s or
Yeah.
1,500 score on your SAT, they're going to take somebody who is black.
Mm-hmm.
An Asian has to get 400 points
Right.
higher
Right.
than a black in order to even be
Yeah.
considered.
Yeah.
Like the black, if it can get 1,000 on it, and the Asian's got 1,400, they're going to pick the black.
Mm.
And they have same in Hispanics as well. For whites, it's like in the middle, so-called whites, Caucasians, non-Asian, and that quantitative data they have in the lawsuit, and
Is those for scholarships
so
or just admissions?
just admissions.
So if you got all the money in the world, you can go, but you can't go if you're Asian.
Well, they could go after
You-
that too. I mean, you have the United Negro College Fund. I mean, that's racist. I mean, it only goes to Negroes.
I don't think it
So-
does, though. I think that's called that, but I don't think it does. I'm not sure. But I don't think they can anymore.
It's racial discrimination. So if you're going to favor blacks and Hispanics, then you're going to discriminate against other groups that are not black and Hispanic. So you're making a decision
So
based
you
on race.
feel that
This has been going on for 60 years.
So you feel that the lawsuit should be followed up by the Justice Department, and it should be hopefully by the Justice Department overturned because it's racist. Because
Yes. They should eliminate affirmative
here's
action
the problem, though.
altogether.
I think getting back to the reason for these original set-asides, it goes back to the Bakke case, I think, in California.
Goes back to the 1964 Civil Rights
Right,
Law.
but I mean, the only time it was
First
ever
one
really
was the Bakke
questioned
case
was the
in the
Bakke
Supreme
case
Court.
in the 70s or something. Was challenged. It was challenged because it was unfair to whites. He was a white. He wasn't accepted because he wasn't black enough or something like
Right.
that.
University
Here's
of
the
California
problem.
Medical
The
School.
reason for the whole structure of that is the same thing we do with the Postal Service as a governmental agency. If you happen to have been in the service in the military, you get 20 or 30 more points when you take a test. If you happen to be black, you get so many points.
Right. Okay. So military service is one thing. That's not racial discrimination.
But what they said,
But color is.
but what they said is because of past situations that go back 100 years of racism.
It's a factor. Yeah.
Right. I grew up in a time when the Boston cops, there wasn't a black on the Boston police force. There were no black firemen.
Yeah.
There were no black TV reporters.
Yeah.
Right? You remember?
Yeah.
I mean, there just weren't any. There wasn't a black weatherman in the world.
Yeah.
So what they did is this was the justification for giving the benefits. And the reason with the Asians, they're too smart. So they're not, every school in the United States would be all Asian, Asian and Jewish, if given half a chance.
What's racism? Racism is the idea that one race is smarter, stronger, better in some basic, inherent, biological, genealogical way
Right.
than another race.
Yeah.
And so what you just said, Asians are smarter. You
Well,
can
I'm just,
construe that
I
as a
don't know
racist
that they all
statement.
aren't, but they all aren't. But it seems like they do well in college.
That's different. They do well. They do better in college. Yes, they do.
Yeah,
and they do
no
better
question.
in many other academic
And then they come on the bell
areas.
curve. They all that.
But is it because of innate intelligence? Is it innate
knows?
biological,
Who knows?
genealogical intelligence? I don't think so.
So you think that'll be overturned in the Supreme Court?
Let me finish that point,
yeah.
though. It's not because of innate superiority in intelligence. It's because of their work ethic. It's a cultural factor that they are encouraged by their families to achieve, to study, to work hard, to make this a
Yeah,
priority.
whatever.
Whereas, and it's the same reason blacks don't do well. Not because they lack the brain power. It's because it's a cultural thing. They say if I go studying, I'm acting white, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be black, and to be black means you're going to be a wise ass. You got to listen to rap. You got to be, and those cultural factors run them down, so they don't work at it the way the Asians do. Not because they're inherently smarter or less smart.
But I think what will happen is the same thing that would happen. I think that they...
What would be the same thing?
Unless they want to overturn all the civil rights decisions of the past, I don't think any court, any Supreme Court, will go along with changing the way it's been for the last 35 years. Because I'll tell you why. If you watch football, and I'm sure you do, they have more black players, I think it's 60-40, more black players in the National Football League than white players. Now, shouldn't a smart lawyer come on and say, you know what? You're discriminating against my white defensive halfbacks because they only run 4.8 40s, and you're only hiring people that run 4.6 40s. Therefore, QED, you're discriminating.
4.6 40s means 4.6
time
seconds
to run
in the
40 yards.
dash.
Time to run 40 yards. So
Some
you're
people may not know what I'm
discriminating
talking
against my poor white kids who can't run quite as fast, and therefore you're eliminating that whole job structure.
Is that true? Is that what you think?
That's
That
about
they
it. That is-
cannot?
They cannot. They're not as fast. That's what. Or basketball. It isn't that white people 6 feet tall can't jump or can't play basketball. They play basketball very good in college. Get in the pros. They can't compete because black people can leap higher. I'm sorry, that's just the way it goes.
That's the story.
That's the story. So I think what we need then, if what you say is true.
Now, I'm not ready to accept that.
You may not accept it, but I'm telling you it's damn true. So here's the point.
Is that race? Do you remember Jimmy the Greek? He said
Jimmy the Greek's very bad kid, lost a lot of money.
He was fired for
Right.
saying something very similar.
Well,
to
I'm
what
not
you just
working
said.
for the NFL, and I'm not working. I'm
Do you
saying
remember what he said?
Let me think for a minute.
He
Was
said
that
something
about the
about
quarterbacks?
their thigh muscles were stronger
They
than
can't
white
swim.
guys'
No,
thigh
the other guy
muscles.
said they couldn't swim because they were too. Remember that guy? He got fired too.
I don't know about the can't swim one. I remember Jimmy the Greek got
All I'm
fired,
saying is
and
what
I
is-
remember why he got fired, because it was that remark about their leg muscles
Right.
being inherently different
Right.
than white guys'
What
leg
I'm
muscles.
saying is they can leap higher. I'm sorry.
But what we're getting at here, Gino, is
So what you're
is
saying-
is
why
the
don't-
actual definition of racism, that one race is superior in some way
Absolutely.
than another race.
Absolutely.
So that's what you're saying,
Right.
that blacks are superior
They can leap
physically
higher.
when it comes to basketball and football than whites.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, see, I don't buy that.
Well, you may not buy it, but I'll tell you what. The next time you see an
I
all-white
don't buy
team
it for the
playing
same
Alabama,
reason.
let me know.
You know, my explanation would be this: I look in basketball. What do black kids often live in the cities? A higher proportion
That's
of them
right.
live in
It
cities.
doesn't
right?
cost anything to be a basketball player.
No,
Doesn't- you
and
don't have to
there
go
are
to
courts
camp.
everywhere, and they hang out
Right.
in the city, and they always somebody's got a basketball, and they're always
Absolutely.
playing,
Yep.
as opposed to a white kid.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the white kids do that too, but so they get better at basketball. The second thing would be boxing. I mean, now blacks were not allowed to fight early on until Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
And then after him, then they
won,
weren't
yeah.
allowed to fight
Sure.
again, and then they were again with Joe Louis, right?
Yeah.
But they were at the bottom. The blacks were at the bottom.
Yeah.
Socioeconomically, they lived in.
Exactly.
And they had to be tough. They grew up in neighborhoods
Sure.
where you got to fight. But then what? You had immigrant groups come in, and they were at the bottom. Who was the first of the big immigrant groups?
Irish, Italians, sure.
Irish. And so who were the heavyweight champs? Was John L. Sullivan, and you
Yeah.
had General Jim Corbett, and you had a whole bunch of others.
That's true.
Okay, so then they were all Irish. Then you had Italians come in. You had Jews come in. You had others come in. Now, if you look today and you say, well, what race dominates the championships in the different weight classes? Hispanics, mostly.
Yeah.
Mexicans,
well, yeah.
Caribbeans. I mean, you still got blacks. You still got.
Welterweights, light
You
heavyweights.
got a few Russians from Kazakhstan. You got some from Ukraine. You got, so it's.
But all I'm saying is somebody could come along, basically, because what
the
you're
point is that it's circumstances. Circumstances produce the athletes,
Yeah.
whether it's boxing, whether it's basketball, however, and not an inherent ability or disability.
Of course. But, and getting back to the Asian students, they're brought up in a different world, in a lot of sense. I mean,
Yeah, they are.
if you're hustling bread and butter on the streets of Chicago, getting shot at while you're going to pick up medication for your sick mother at the drugstore, your lifestyle is entirely different from birth. I can't even imagine living like that now, okay, this day and age. But they have a hell of a time. So, yeah, their lives probably don't head as well towards college and high school studies because they're laughed at for being, trying to be white, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that, I don't think the Supreme Court will overturn any decision. And if they do, I think they'll be held to pay.
Okay, I think we have the exact quote here that our producer
Okay.
brought in
What
from
quote?
Jimmy the Greek. The black is a better athlete to begin with because he's been bred to be that way.
Well, that's different.
Now, that's different.
Bred, yeah.
Breeding. Okay.
Yeah.
Because of his high thighs and big thighs that goes up into his back, and they can jump higher and run faster because of their bigger thighs. And he's bred to be a better athlete because this goes way back, all the way back to the Civil War, when during the slave trade, the slave owner would breed his big black dog to his big woman so that he could have a big black kid.
Well, that is not what I was talking about.
Well, that's
okay?
what Jimmy the Greek
That was
said.
Jimmy, so
I knew it
don't-
had something
I
to
don't
do
wanna
with
be- no,
thighs
no.
and so forth. And
Jimmy
he
the
was
Greek-
fired for saying that.
He should have been. He should have been. And the same thing that happened to, what was his name? The guy who used to announce the boxing matches and was Howard Cosell.
Yeah.
He's watching a game. The game's on TV. He's doing the Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
And this black kid from Washington is running with the ball, and he says, "Look at that little monkey go." Well, I mean, the world fell in on him. The world fell over it.
that what got him fired?
When Rush Limbaugh tried to be a football analyst on C-SPAN, not C-SPAN,
Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football, one of those shows, and he's there and he says, that the black quarterback, I can't remember what his name was.
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, yeah.
Donovan McNabb.
Donovan McNabb. He says, he'd be nothing.
Well, he was talking about, I think he was suggesting that it was affirmative action.
Yeah, they gave the guy the
Because-
job. But I mean, those guys are gone, from history because they said stupid things.
But that's not racist, I think. I think it's he thought that the NFL or
That's
the
the
big
way he
wigs must have
thought.
thought it's time to have more blacks in at that particular
Well,
position.
What I'm saying is
And
this
so they
is
gave it to a
exactly what
black guy.
happened in colleges. They weren't accepted. They weren't accepted because coming from the humble environment where they lived without a father in a gang-related city, they'd come to Harvard to go to school. They were turned away. Oh, you only got 998 on your. So what happened was they gave them some special acceptances.
Clearly they did.
Well, they have
Yeah.
to.
No, they don't have to.
Well,
That's the point.
Well, then you'll never have a society that's mingled.
Okay, well
commingled.
that's a typical Democrat attitude right there.
I think it's a
if
terrible
we don't
human.
intervene and make it easier for them,
Exactly.
they are inherently unable to do it for themselves.
That
That's
isn't
the
true,
attitude.
but that
And
isn't what I- no, that isn't what I
Let me finish
said.
that point because it's
Yeah.
an important one. That is the attitude of Democrats. They're too dumb to make it on their own. They need our help.
We're not talking about dumb. We're talking about the environment that they spent their whole life in for the last 4 generations. That's what they're talking about.
But
They're not
how did immigrants climb out of that?
well,
They did it by hard work, by taking on some of those cultural attributes that Asians have, not racist attributes, but it became an attitudinal thing. If I work hard, like Ben Carson is a perfect example of it. His mother said, "Ben, you got to work hard. You grew up in a tough neighborhood. You're going to have to really, really work. You
Yeah.
can't watch TV. You and your brother are going to read a book or do a book report every week or whatever the heck it was."
Yeah.
She had a regimen that she made him do, much like Asian mothers do with their kids. And what happened with Ben Carson? He probably benefited from affirmative action as well, but he had the brains and he had the work ethic, and then he became the top pediatric neurosurgeon in the world.
You know, the
Now,
amazing-
that proves that this guy did it, but it was his ethic. It was
Look,
his ethic, work ethic.
when Judge Thomas went to college, he went on the affirmative action. okay?
Probably.
A lot of these folks that became successful went on affirmative action. Now, if not given the choice, not given the ability to get that little bit of a leg up because of their pre-existing situation, they would be washing buses, cleaning toilets. They'd be doing anything, and they wouldn't
Not
have got.
necessarily,
Look at I can
Gino,
remember
no.
the days in Boston. There were no blacks that had any merit at all. They weren't in any positions of importance.
The
So,
Irish.
what would you
you're
do,
half
keep 'em
Irish.
down?
Half your
Now, if I
ancestors
were
are
saying
Irish,
both problems.
They were discriminated against too. That no Irish need apply signs. Those famous
I
signs.
saw them as a kid. I
Oh, I
read
did.
them.
They were gone by the time.
They weren't gone in the early
Well,
60s.
By the time we grew up, Gino, the Irish had taken over Boston. They had taken over politics in most of the state of Massachusetts as well as the city of Boston, and they did it by organizing. They did it some of the, crooked methods as well, like James Michael Curley.
Oh, you
and
think
so
they might
forth.
have been a little crooked
Of
back
course
in the
they
day?
were. But they organized. They organized, and they made it happen. With their own little clan, and that's good. I mean, whatever it takes to get them to move up. Now that it isn't,
So
they made it. They made it from work. Either as a group or as an individual, and that benefits the country. That benefits
let's
the
go back to
society.
another step
If you
where-
give it to them for nothing, you're not helping.
I see. So let's go back a little ways to the veterans coming home from World War II.
Okay.
Some of them sat at a desk like my wife's godfather who just passed away. Some of them didn't go to war. Some of them never got shot at. All right, all these things. And they came back and they got what was called the GI Bill.
They did.
Now, that was applied to only a certain group of people. And now what I'm saying is,
Yeah, but
having,
not based on race.
having the memories of watching TV, how about movies? Blacks in movies?
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on
So
the
what was
movies.
what-
I'm with you on TV and so forth, but not on the GIs. It had to do with, did you serve your country or not?
Did you get
That's
shot
not
at?
based on race.
No, did you get shot at? They came back and got a big benefit, even if they never left the country. But the point is, think about them. They were out of the 4 million people that went to war, maybe 3 million weren't even in a battle. So the point is, you're giving them a benefit. Yeah, even now. If you served in the military between certain dates in World War II or Vietnam or Korea, you get a tax benefit on your house taxes.
Yeah, it's true.
But you missed that date by 6 months when that war didn't exist. You might have, you get nothing. So here you got a situation with, is that
You
what we
still
want?
get a GI Bill if you're in the service.
America's always been a
If you're
melting
in the
pot.
military, you still
Huh?
get the GI Bill is resurrected.
Only if you served with
don't
for
think you have to serve in
for
combat.
house taxes. No, that went for everybody. If you never left the states, you were eligible for the GI Bill.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as house taxes and stuff like that, benefit towns and cities gave you, it was different. You served within a certain period of time.
Want to read this one?
What is it?
The second question.
Oh, we going to do it now? Oh, we haven't done the good and bad yet.
We haven't done a lot of things yet. We
God,
go
Tom.
off on tangents.
Well, we know. We've
spend too
been
much
covering
time.
this
I'm
issue
gonna
that
try
you
and-
brought up. This is,
I did. Yeah.
Do-
Go ahead.
oh, dear God, this is another one. This is another Trumpian.
What?
Do you favor the United States moving its embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem? What will the effects of the move be on brokering a peace between Israel and the Palestinians?
I do favor it. Yes, I think every president since
Truman.
Bill Clinton has said that they'll do it. It was Clinton, Bush, Obama, and now Trump all said that they were going to do it. It was voted by Congress in 1995 to do it by a huge majority of both houses, and it's but no president has had the stones to do it. And now I don't. Is
Other
it going
stupidity.
to upset the peace process? The second part of the question, no, it isn't, because I don't think the Palestinians want peace. They do not want. They claim to want the two-state solution that make the West Bank into a Palestinian state, and so you'll have the Israelis over here and the Arab Muslims over there. That isn't what they want. They were offered that in the 1990s. And it could have had 95% of the West Bank, and they turned it down. That isn't what they want. What they want is Israel gone. They pretend to want a two-state solution. I don't think it's what they want. And so this is not going to change.
Not a problem.
It's not going to change the so-called peace process. It ain't happening.
Well, I think it's a mistake. I think even the theory of it is a mistake because there's 3 or 4 different factions that basically consider Jerusalem their home. Now what we're telling the Israelis who were gone from Jerusalem for at least a couple of thousand years.
Most Jews were gone, but not all.
Okay, most. Let's come back. Well, bring your capital into Jerusalem among people that hate your guts. And they're never going to change. They're never going to stop. Because that's the way the religion goes and this is the way the people are over there. But the point is, it's a stupid decision because right now they might, at some point in time, be able to get to a peace process there that works. Maybe, I think Israel has overlooked ways they can make amends for some of the past, and I think the Palestinians have, and I think the people that support the Palestinians are all in the same boat in supporting a situation that may not work out the way they want it to. But as far as our president deciding that we're going to put an embassy in Jerusalem, would you want to work in that embassy once it opens? They're going to have to guard that around the clock with people in minarets with machine guns. Because I'll tell you what, nobody over there is going to support it. Nobody does. Every nation in the world except one supported our decision. Every nation in the world that reported on it supported it. They didn't support it. Nobody did.
It's changed.
One nation. Well,
the Czech
maybe.
Republic wants to
Czech
do it.
Republic.
Several countries in Africa want
I'm
to
talking
do it.
about real-
Hungary wants to do it.
Okay, yeah. You're talking about countries basically probably run by dictators.
No, they're not run
Probably.
by dictators.
I don't know about Czech. I'm not so sure about Czech. I know Hungary is. But
not.
anyway, it's just more of the same from Trump. The man is a total wingnut.
I think
Anyway.
you're letting your hatred for Trump get in.
I don't hate him. I just think he's the worst thing that ever happened to this planet. That's not hate. Is that hate?
Oh, okay. Okay. I hate to see it when you hate someone. Jeez, 'em. All right. The Centers for Medical Progress. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Medical
David
progress?
Dalieden was the head of that. Center for Medical Progress. They're the ones that went into Planned Parenthood conventions, and they interviewed with a secret camera, like on the tie clip
About
or
body
something.
parts, yeah.
And essentially that's it. They have a whole
Right.
series of tapes. David Dalieden was the one who quarterbacked this effort. He's with the Center for American Progress. Of course, Planned
Not
Parenthood
American
and the
Progress.
Democrats all said, "Oh, well, he's deceptively edited those tapes, and that isn't really what Planned Parenthood. Those are not really what those women said, and so forth." And they brushed it under the rug. There were a few attempts at a congressional investigation. Is Planned Parenthood actually selling body parts? There were moves to stop the $500 million federal subsidy to
Mm-hmm.
Planned Parenthood. Obama was willing to shut down the government to prevent
Oh,
this.
my God.
They wanted to maintain that $500 million for Planned Parenthood. He said, "This is a deal breaker. If this isn't in the budget, I'm not signing it." And so this is what it came to. Well, now Dalieden, a San Francisco federal judge, took the remaining tapes. He had more tapes to release, but the San Francisco federal judge says, "No, you may not." The then Attorney General, who is now Senator from California, Kamala Harris, being spoken of as a presidential candidate for the Democrats in 2020, black woman, she went into Dalieden's house, seized his laptops, seized his
She did it on
other
her own
tapes.
herself?
She
went
got
in?
a warrant to do it.
Okay.
But they did this because they said that he was breaking some law
Okay.
by going to a public convention and interviewing these people without their consent.
Yeah.
And so now here's what he did. He filed in Orange County a civil suit against two biotech firms that were buying body parts, baby parts, from Planned Parenthood in California. And it was just settled day before yesterday. $7.8 million. They said, yeah, we're going to take this money and turn it over to some medical schools. He didn't want the money for himself. I think he took $95,000 to cover legal costs.
Yeah.
And so they won this case. And now that's the base. That lawsuit is the basis for DOJ now going after Planned Parenthood for selling baby parts, because the same evidence that was presented in that civil case is now being used against Planned Parenthood, who lied about selling
I see.
baby parts.
So what do you
they
think?
actually were doing that, even though they denied it.
So what you're saying, basically, you on the right and this Dalieden or whatever his name is, and by the way, it's the Center for Medical Process.
No, progress.
No, Progress. Center for oh, okay, it might be. Okay, all right. Because there's this Center for Political Progress or something. But anyway, what you're telling the American public on this wide-range operation we have here is that this guy went in, and Planned Parenthood is like someone would call up and say, I want a finger, I want a toe.
No, brains,
I want
hearts,
a head.
intact,
Yeah,
whole
intact.
bodies,
Now,
entire bodies.
He's got films of those going out the door.
No.
Being
What
extreme.
he has is interviews, the tapes
well.
that I've seen. I haven't seen the ones the federal judge
Yeah.
has prevented him from releasing.
Yeah.
But the ones that I've seen, and there are about a dozen of them, I mean, they're damning tapes. He's interviewing abortionists.
Well,
and
he's
they're all women.
talking. He's
They're all women who are
talking.
doing
He's
these
talking.
abortions.
This is verbal. This isn't a scene of somebody cutting off a finger or a head.
No.
Oh, it's verbal. It's just a
Yes.
conference. Okay.
Right.
Because, I've seen films of taken from Area 51 of UFO occupants that have been put on a table and carved up for experimental purposes. Now, do I believe they're really UFO occupants? No. But yet there are people that say, oh, yes, they were from outer space. See, I don't want to listen to I want to see what they're doing, okay? Because they deny that. That's denied all over the place.
You can't
about
deny
them
what you
selling
said
body
on
parts.
videotape.
Now,
that
there
I-
may have been cells. There may have been cells that were taken.
You haven't watched the tapes. I have.
You're watching an interview.
Yes.
Yeah, I watch interviews all the time. Are they all telling the truth? I don't know. How do you know? I mean, they may feel the way you do. They may be very conservative. They may not be Democrats. So what are they? They're working for Planned Parenthood. They could be anybody.
They're
I don't know.
abortionists.
Oh, they were talking to the actual person, the physical
Yes.
doctor.
Yes, they were. They were
I-
talking to abortionists, one after the other.
Yeah, you're not just talking about somebody that worked there. You're talking about abortionists,
Yes,
the person that
the
does the
women
abortion.
who performed abortions. She said, "This is how I would go in and I'd try to get the whole fetus out intact so that I could preserve the organs, or I would try if they wanted an entire head, then I would be careful and I'd pull the parts out this way so that the head would not be
So the
crushed."
suggestion is that this baby would
These
have
are
lived.
the things these are some of the dialogue that was going on. These are the abortionists themselves
This
saying,
baby
"This
would-
is how I would do it in order to sell the part."
This baby that they took out, what? Are you talking about some 10-pound baby? Are you talking about what? I don't
Late-term
know.
abortions.
Okay. Now, what was the reason for late-term abortion? Did you find that out?
Gino, they can. Ever since Roe v. Wade, it's been abortion on demand. All a woman has to
not
say
after-
is that I'm going to be depressed if I have this child,
That's
and
not
she can
true.
have an abortion up until the 9th month,
I
right
don't-
up
that
until the
isn't
day before
everywhere.
birth. I don't
That
think
isn't-
you
I don't-
understand the issue.
I don't think that's a fact, but
That is
I
a
think there
fact.
had to be certain things that were done before you could have a late-term abortion.
Yeah, you have to say that it's to protect the mother's health. That was the thing
From a
that was
doctor,
put
the
into
life
the
and
law.
health of the mother. That is in the law.
The
I know it
health
is.
of the mother
Yeah.
extends to the mental health.
So I'm
of the
just trying
mother.
to get
Let
an
me
impression
finish.
of
Let
what
me
you
finish
people are saying.
so you'll understand. The mental health of the mother is the emotional health of the mother also.
But-
So the woman, all she has to say is, if she's 9 months and 3 weeks pregnant,
Yeah.
and then she says, "I don't want to have this because I'm going to be depressed. I might, and it's too much for me." That's
I
enough. It threatens her
Now
health.
this is a
Therefore,
healthy
the
baby.
baby's gone.
This isn't a baby
A
that's
healthy baby.
going to be born with no brain,
Most of
no
them,
heart, no lungs.
Gino, no.
I'm just saying because I don't.
I know that's what Planned Parenthood
Why is it just
propaganda
Democrat?
was.
Why isn't it just people that feel for a mother that's got a baby that's dead, having a baby dead? I mean, I don't know. Why
Those
does it always
cases
have to
happen.
be just
Those
Democrats?
cases happen. Most of the cases, however, are not that way. Most of the cases are on healthy babies.
Oh, come on. I don't believe that for me. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I mean, it's just,
Well,
I
I'm
don't
afraid,
think it's
I'm
true.
afraid it's true.
I don't think
Gino.
it's true. I don't think
true.
you can do that legally.
Yes,
Now,
you
you say, I mean, partial birth abortion is a name they gave to late-term abortion removal when the baby has no physical expectancy of a natural life.
Some of them, yes. Most of them, no. Most of them
wow.
are healthy babies.
Well, I don't believe that. And I mean, you can say it, and Breitbart and whoever else can say it.
Good news, bad news.
And they-
loser. Okay. It's time. We're running out of
yeah,
time.
you gotta-
Okay.
You had something else you wanted to. What was it?
I had a lot of
good
things,
news
but
and
we don't
bad
have
news.
time. Yeah.
That's it. Give me a good news
Okay.
and bad news.
Good news. I'm going to give you the bad news first.
No, give me that.
We saw the other day, there's some photographer, National Geographic photographer, took some film of this polar bear. Looked like it was starving.
Mm-hmm.
And it was above the Arctic Circle, and it's going along, and it's too weak to...
to survive.
And he said, my tears were rolling down my cheeks while I'm filming this
Must
poor
have been a
polar bear
Democrat.
who's dying. And he said, this is why we need to do something about climate change and so forth. The polar bears are dying and so forth, right? I mean, this polar bear was walking on snow or ice or whatever. I mean, what a little bit that I saw of it. It didn't look good.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, so it was used and it got a lot of people
Sure.
crying as well. The good news, however, is that Arctic sea ice extent is up 25 to 40%, depending on which measurement you want to use, over the last 5 years. And also that polar bears get old and die no matter how much ice there is
Sure.
or isn't.
Well, again, in confluence with that, the bad news, which is good and bad, I'm going to do the good too, separate, but the good news for the North Country is we got about 18 inches of snow yesterday in Jackson, New Hampshire.
That surprises me.
The bad news, I'm already sick of snow because I got to shovel that crud. Anyway, everybody
surprised 'cause
enjoys skiing. Now,
Go ahead.
the really good news, our erstwhile half-brained president decided to come out at the Paris
This is
Accords.
good news?
This is good news. The good news is he came out against the Paris Climate Change Accords and blah, 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 decided we're not involved, da, 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 da. Macron, the president, or I guess the president of France,
Oh, yes, Macron.
is working, Macron, and with this 80-year-old wife, he came out the other day and he has invited any scientist in the United States to come and live in France and work on climate change. So not
Because the
only-
money's drying up over here.
I don't know if it's money.
There's a money
and then,
issue.
we can put our heads in the sand about climate change. Okay, they do it all the time, and you do it all the time, and most Republicans do, because it's the fast buck. It's what can we make today, and the hell with tomorrow? Because you know what, we won't be here. But so the
So
point
the
is,
good
I
news
think
is that Macron is bringing his climate
he's
scientists on.
bringing some people there, and while they're there, they can live there, and find out what the hell they can do to improve the climate. And I mean,
You're leaving out that there's about 2 million euros that he's offering, 13 of them
He's-
to go over there
that's-
because they can't
and
get
yeah.
funding for their studies over here in
Absolutely.
the U.S.
And
anymore since
you
Trump
know
came
something?
in.
If
So they're going over for the money.
you guys had a prime example of what the Republican Party had begun when this nitwit in Alabama yesterday and his nitwit wife rode on horseback to vote. Okay?
I saw that, yeah.
They looked like a couple of nitwits.
They did.
And you know, when the
Yeah.
only votes the Republicans can count on in the future is the uneducated people without a college education, that's the end of the Republican Party as we've known it.
Okay, I got
What do we got
winners
now?
and
What do you-
losers.
How much time we got?
I don't know. 10 minutes.
Oh,
Let's do the winner and loser thing.
This guy's right on.
Okay, the winner. I heard on the news an anonymous person went to a store at the main mall. I can't remember which store it was.
Mm-hmm.
And he put down several $1,000s, somewhere
Yeah.
around 10 grand.
Wow.
And he said, this is to pay off all the layaways that you have. So, people,
Yeah.
the kid wants something, a certain
Yeah.
toy or whatever it is.
Sure.
And I'm going to get it now. I'm going to lay it away. I haven't got the money to pay for it now, but I guess probably everyone knows what layaways are.
Sure.
Okay. So that's nice.
That's how they got me.
Whoever
That's how-
that guy is, and he was anonymous about it. And there's something nice about being
Oh, yeah.
anonymous. Look what I did. I gave all this money.
Yeah.
He's anonymous. That's
Exactly.
nice. That's very nice. The loser, I had somebody else on here, but now I'm going to have to say the big loser as of last night is Steve Bannon.
Oh,
I mean, he hated Mitch McConnell, and he was going to go after any candidate, any establishment Republican candidate in the senatorial elections that Mitch McConnell supported. And he was going to support somebody more conservative and spite Mitch McConnell. I never cared much for Mitch McConnell. All right, I don't like the man. But I have to admit that his political acumen has been very sharp. It is borne out. He's turned out to be right on almost everything he called, including this Alabama election. And Bannon was pretty much wrong on all counts. He's
Well,
a
you know,
loser.
Yeah, Bannon reminded me a little bit of an ugly Moor. When he showed up in Alabama with his buckskin jacket on, stomach hanging way over his belt,
You're
hair
talking
down.
about Bannon now.
Yeah, Bannon, hair down to his neckline, and he's up there telling the Alabamans, how to vote and why they should hate this one and hate that one and not get along with that one. And I thought, what unmitigated gall. Unmitigated. I don't even know if the guy's an American citizen. I guess he is. He's a Wall Street guy, made millions of dollars on one. He's a multimillionaire. He's got this tie-in with some family that's got gazillion billions of dollars.
Used to. They dropped him.
They dropped him. Oh, they dropped one last night.
A guy named
The Mercers,
from
yeah.
Long Island, yeah.
They had billions of dollars. They were fronting him. Now they find out he goes into a state where, you're more liable to get run over by a rhinoceros in Alabama than have a Democrat win an election. And he gets down there, he spews all this garbage, defending a possible pedophile, which I think he was, but
He didn't know it then, but he did know it afterwards. He continued to
he
support the
kept
guy
going.
even after all this came out.
You know the old saying, what is it about digging a hole? If you
Yeah.
stop digging.
He overplayed his hand,
He
to say the
overplayed his hand
least,
just
yeah.
a touch. And then our brilliant redheaded president, this Fruit Loop, comes on strong and does this.
It's either yellow or orange. I don't think it's red.
Oh, what a goofball. And then you got Pence sitting in the background here just licking his chops.
Who?
Pence.
Oh, Mike Pence?
Yeah, he's
Oh.
sitting in the background just licking his chops because he could be king for a day. Because Trump is not going to, he will not be there in a year if he keeps this up.
Here's what's going to happen, I think. Right?
We should have a prediction this time of year.
I think the Democrats have changed strategy.
Of course.
And first you had Nancy Pelosi coming out and calling John Conyers an icon on Meet the Press. I watched it. An icon. And in other words, she's not going to pressure him to resign.
Right.
The next week, she's saying he's got to go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what happened? And then you had people supporting Stuart Smalley up there in Minnesota. I can never remember his real name, but
Al Franken.
Al Franken. And
What used to be called, his last name was Steen. Frankenstein.
oh well. Anyway,
But
they
now it's
weren't.
Franken.
He's there's pictures of him, touching a woman's breast and so forth. Anyway, he wasn't going to go. All of a sudden, Democrats changed strategy. You have all these Democrat senators and
30 people
Congresswomen come up and say he's got to go, and then even the people in the Black Caucus are saying Conyers has got to go. So there's an abrupt shift in strategy, and everybody did what they're supposed to do, just like a Bill Belichick play in football. Everybody did their job. And what happened? Here's what's going to happen. They're going after Trump for the women who accused him of sexually harassing them prior to the November election. That's it. That's the new strategy. And Gillibrand had a press conference yesterday and had all these women line up. Yeah. So, Gillibrand herself is the one that kissed up the Bill and Hillary Clinton. You talk about sexual harassers and enablers of sexual harassers and so forth. She took Hillary's Senate seat. He got the endorsement of both Bill and Hillary. And then all of a sudden, she comes out and says, Bill we should have gone after Bill way back in the 90s when he said that, because it was, I would have asked him to resign now if I had it to do over.
Well, going back
talk about an about face by the Democrats. To me, it's hypocritical, but it's effective. I have to admire their political acumen, just like I do admire McConnell's.
And it might possibly have been that they don't like sexual perverts. And do you ever think they might have finally said, you know what, after what Trump said in the bus that day, after the women that came out about him, 14 or 15 people?
On the bus, oh yeah.
After the people that come out against more 14 or 15. All right, even Al Franken, okay? It may have been a skit for a show, may not have been. The point is, he did it fine. He took the ball. He's the one that said, he didn't have to leave. He absolutely did not have to leave, because what they were accusing him of was so small and simple.
Franken?
Yes. It was nothing compared to what they're talking about with Moore and the rest of these people.
He had about 9 women, just like it happened to Trump.
I don't know. I didn't follow
the count is up to 9.
All right. But the point is, okay, listen, these people are crawling out of the woodwork the same way Paula Jones did when she came out of a truck stop somewhere and said, yeah, Bill, come on. 25 years later, put it away for a while. That's my argument, okay? Don't
Well,
just...
how do you apply that? How do you apply that to Moore, who just lost? It was 40 years ago.
Even that, I think that was ridiculous. But the point is, Alabama had always had screwy things like that going on. They really did. Jerry Lee Lewis in the 50s married his 12-year-old cousin in Alabama.
I wrote a column, and I don't know if the Conway Sun will print it, but
They
it
may
should
not
be coming
print it.
out tomorrow. And it's about this. It's about the quote that I used last time on the show. It was a woman, Nina Burley, for Time Magazine, and she said about Donald Trump, I would give him a you-know-what if he is just to thank him for keeping abortion legal. Now this woman is the White House correspondent for Time Magazine, and she says that. And then she's asked about it 9 years later, and said, hey, that was pretty something what you said back there in 1998. And in 2007, she said, yeah, because and the women. All these women ought to put their knee pads on and line up so they can do the same thing. What's the issue? He can do anything he wants to women so long as he favors abortion. He's talking about Clinton. She would have done it to Clinton.
I don't know, but I'm not so sure of that.
And it was the issue with all Democrats.
I don't.
Feminists would not come out against the sexual harassers. They come out against Clarence Thomas because he was against abortion.
Let me take a moment.
But those who were for abortion, they could get away with it. And then it changed. Harvey Weinstein, major pro-abortion guy. Then they came out against him. Then Matt Lauer. Then, how many others have they come out? All of them are liberal Democrats, pro-abortion people.
Here's
something changed, basically.
Here's the point, okay? There will never be, as long as you and I are alive and for the next 100 years, a ban on the right of a woman to maintain on an abortion. Her own pro-choice.
Roe v. Wade, you mean?
Roe v. Wade, it's stare decisis. It's been in 40-something years, okay? They're not going to change it. The Republicans use it. They're so cynical. They use that every year. Same thing. You talk about, they promised to do this and that, and then the Democrats don't do it. The Republicans have had the House, the Senate, and the presidency several times over the last 30, 40 years, 35 years. What have they done to remove?
I think Roe v. Wade will go down, and that doesn't mean that abortion will become illegal across the country. If you understood the issue, Roe v. it will go back to the states, and then the states will decide whether there'll be abortion or not.
Right.
And it won't be considered a constitutional right. There's nothing in the Constitution that even comes close to saying that a woman has a right to an abortion.
Let me tell you that a lot of women in this country.
That's why it's bad law. 1970, Roe v. Wade is bad law. It will not outlaw abortion. It will, but abortions will still happen, but it will be a state decision.
Look as you just learned, in Alabama, there was a man running for the Senate of the United States who didn't even believe that the right of a black to be a citizen or a woman to vote or any of this stuff, any of the Civil Rights Acts, had any pertinence to our governance, okay? So there were many Republicans
he
feel...
didn't say that.
He
if
did.
He said that, I didn't hear it.
He did. No,
when he talked about the amendments, maybe, because
the amendments which gave them the right to do what
the 13th Amendment freed the slaves, so he didn't believe in any amendments after 10.
After the 10th.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Well, all right.
So I mean, but here's the point. So they're out there.
1 minute.
You've got them all out there. They're all over the place. They're like horse manure. So the point is, you've got many of those people. I think 30% of Trump's voters feel that way. 30, 40, 50% of the people who voted for Trump feel that way. They're all,
We're almost out of time. So, folks, we'll be here in 2 weeks. That's just before, I think it's after Christmas and before New Year's. And, we didn't get to all the things we thought we'd get to, or at least I didn't. I got to about two-thirds of them.
You could have read the preamble to the Constitution, too. Anyway. I mean, what else do you want to do?
But we'll be back. We'll try to continue this format. If you like it, let us know.
We gave him the ability to do a little more because he's been falling behind on the curve. I mean, but listen.
What?
Have a wonderful Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Even if you can't see Bill O'Reilly anymore, there will be a Christmas. And Bill O'Reilly is going to have a good Christmas this year, too, because he's not making any money. That's Schweinerda. Anyway, have a nice Christmas. We'll see you just before New Year's.
Bye-bye.
You lucky folk.
This is Conway Community Television, a production of Valley Vision. Make sure to check out our website at www.valleyvision.org. www.valleyvision.com for any last-minute updates to our schedule.